Seeing it's just after 7, I'll call this meeting to order. Okay, so let me do, all right. So here's our typical starting spiel here. So before we get started, let's introduce everyone on this meeting. I'm Sandra Brock. When I call your name, please confirm you are present and you can hear me. I'll start with the commissioners. So Helen?
I am here and I can hear you.
Thank you. John? And you're on mute. You're still not coming through. You can hear me, but I don't think you can. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me at all?
Now I can.
I'll just have to yell at the mic every time.
Okay. We have 2 commissioners not here tonight, but we do have a quorum. We'll go through staff. Our agent is Leah.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Thank you. And our assistant is Samantha.
Present.
And our anticipated speakers, I am just going to go through who we have down as to be speaking tonight from Land Design Collaborative. Wayne?
Yep, here.
Okay. All right. So the open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via Zoom, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and encourages public bodies to hold meetings remotely with reasonable public access. Access information for the public is provided on the town website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. As chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite each commissioner by name to provide comments, questions, and motions. After the commissioners have spoken, I will allow the public comment, starting with those received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time comments or questions typed by participants in the chat feature. Anything typed in the chat feature needs to be addressed to everyone, not a sole individual. Both types of comments and questions will be followed by real-time commission and applicant responses. Finally, each vote will be conducted by a roll call vote. All right, taking care of that. Go here. First meeting's at 7:15. Are there any action items that we could take care of prior to that, Leah?
We might be able to do all of them. They're pretty quick.
Great. We'll start with the meeting minutes. Thanks for sending them out. Thanks for always doing them on time. That's great. Do the commissioners have any comments or suggestions on the meeting minutes? So Helen?
No.
And John? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of the previous meeting for the Conservation Commission.
Do I have a second? Gonna have to yell there, John.
I second that.
Thank you. So I have a motion in a second. So I will do a roll call. Helen?
Yes.
John?
Nickerson, yes.
Okay, we might resort to some hand motions here, but we'll see how it goes. Very good, thank you. I am also a yes, and so the motion carries. Next one is certificate of compliance at 15 Meadowbrook Road. Leah, anything we should know that's going on?
It's all set. We got an as-built plan from them. They've completed all their work. Everything's stable. I recommend issuing a complete COC.
Thanks for the update. Do I have a motion?
I'll step up to this. I
Thank
make
you.
a motion to accept the complete certificate of compliance for 15 Meadowbrook Road in Grafton.
Thanks. Do I have a second?
No.
All right. John has indicated by sign or by motion that he seconds it. So all those in favor, Helen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Got 2 thumbs up and even heard you that time. I am also a yes. The motion carries. All right. Request for extension and minor changes for 114 Merriam Road. Leah, any additional information we should know about this?
Yeah, give me 1 second because I'm trying to get we have someone in the chat that might want to speak to it. So
Okay, great.
I just need to find the right button here.
Okay.
But just to give you guys the information that I know, this project was for a common driveway with a few lots off of it. They previously got a 3-year extension, began the work. They're looking for another 3-year extension to finish the remaining lots. And they also have some minor changes. Basically, what those boil down to are they are firming up the designs for the houses and the lot layouts with respective buyers. So instead of just having a generic placeholder for the homes, they were able to provide more detail, which actually resulted in a reduction in impervious surface. If Carl would like to add anything.
Good evening, Carl Holtzman, Quinn Engineering. No, that's a good description. Thank you. So it's a request for some minor modifications, and then we're also requesting to extend those permits.
Okay. We'll go through the commission. Helen, any questions?
No, none at this time.
John, any questions? Okay. And the only question I have, Leah, is that you noted the reduction in impervious surface. Is anything getting closer to the wetlands, or is it no change in that?
Carl, you can confirm this, but I believe a few things actually shifted farther away.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
All right. Sounds good. Do I have a motion to for the minor changes to these to this order of conditions, and also to extend the order of conditions for 114 Merriam Road?
Mouthful, but I'll try. I make the motion to extend the order of conditions and minor changes that have been requested for 114 Merriam Road.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Oh, thank you. I will go a roll call for the vote. Helen,
Yes.
John? Okay, thank you. And I'm also a yes. The motion carries.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And then a partial request for certificate of compliance. We still got 2 minutes. Let's go here. So, so this is 295 Providence. This is a typical one, Leah.
This is a townhouse, I guess you could call it, within, I believe I believe the subdivision is called Summerfields. But this unit in particular is looking to close out the COC so they can close on a sale. That one is all set. They have grass growing there and everything. So I recommend issuing a partial for 1 Lindsay Lane Unit 2.
Okay, great. So do I hear a motion to for issuing a partial certificate of compliance for 295 Providence Road?
That's not 1 Lindsay Lane.
Oh, it's why is this 2 addresses?
So the whole subdivision of sorts is at 295. It's more of like a condo type thing. So the address of the whole thing is 295 Providence Road, but then they have a little road going in off of Providence. This one is on 1 Lindsay Lane.
Great. So do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
You can also say so moved.
Oh, okay. Let me try to.
Absolutely. Go for it.
I make a motion to accept the partial certificate of compliance for the condominium at 295 Providence Road, Grafton, specifically 1 Lindsay Lane, and the unit on that address.
Fabulous. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you. Got both of them that time. So we have a motion and a second. So we'll do a roll call vote. Helen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion passes. Okay. We're done with action items and it's 7:15.
Sandy,
This is-
before we jump,
Sure.
before we jump, can I try and log back out and log back in to see if that will fix it? Sometimes that does it.
Absolutely. Why don't we take a
30
quick,
seconds?
yep.
I'll be quick.
Let's hope he doesn't go away and doesn't come back.
I like the so moved option. I use that a lot, and I commend you, Helen. You went out there. You went for it all. You know,
Ryan.
it's pretty good. I typically go with the so moved.
Good to know now.
Can't hear you.
Didn't it work, John?
Hmm.
It says it's connecting to audio.
Yeah.
Switching out to AirPods. I think, John, you need to get the guy behind you to help you.
Yeah. He's always there.
Certainly is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Success.
First time in like 10 meetings that I've had to use my call-in number, which is weird, but occasionally it happens. So I apologize, but I'm connected now. So
Yep, no worries. We all run into these issues and sometimes they seem extremely random. So, all right,
Yeah.
so let's get going on the public hearings. So pursuant to Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application of Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the property redevelopment at 40 Main Street in Grafton. And who's here to speak to that?
Madam Chair, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative. I'm joined by Patrick Duffy of 4027 Main Street, LLC. Patrick is the property owner and has been for a number of years. Patrick, how long have you been property owner over there?
Almost 2 years. Hi, everybody.
So Patrick is the property owner. He's not a developer. He lives in the town of Brighton. And what Patrick is looking to do out here, Madam Chair, members of the commission, first of all, thanks for having us. And this is a little different from the last time I met with you folks in person, which I personally prefer doing over this format, but it is what it is. Patrick, like he had indicated, has owned the property for a couple of years. And what he'd like to do is make some improvements to the property by constructing a single building 3-unit structure for the purposes of, these are rental units, and he would be looking to supplement his income in retirement a couple of years down the road. The other reason he wants to do this is he's got 3 young daughters that he wants to make sure are taken care of down the road with some supplemental income. So with that said, we at Land Design Collaborative, we are a civil site and landscape architectural firm. We sub out the wetlands delineations, and sometimes they assist us in permitting, and we do the same thing with survey. In this particular case, we had Northeast Ecological Services, Scott Heim out of Upton, and J.D. Marquardt and Associates out of Hopkinton performed the wetland delineation or the topographic survey. So the property, Leah, if you wouldn't mind going to the existing conditions plan, which should be, there you go. Thank you. So the property is located, with north being straight up the sheet, is located at the northeast corner of Main Street and Cross Street. It's about 0.67 acres, and it's located in the Village Mixed Use District. We had a few meetings with town staff. We had initially met with Chris McGoldrick, and I think Leah was in that initial meeting. And then we had an informal with the planning board to get their take on what was being proposed, and they seemed in favor of it. And then we had an informal with Leah, and that was probably a couple months ago before we got too far into the design. And then as recent as last week, I had a follow-up meeting with Leah to address some of the questions that she had regarding redevelopment and grandfather provisions under the 1058, 310 CMR 1058, the riverfront provisions of the regulations. So, and then she had a couple things that she wanted to see on the plans as well. So, like I said, 0.69 acres. The site is developed with 5 buildings on it. In the northeast corner is a garage on a foundation, not on there's no slab. It's a dirt floor. In the southeast is an old commercial building. To the northwest of the garage I referenced is a shed. And then to the east of the garage is number 27 Cross Street. That's a 3-unit multifamily rental building. And then in the most southwest corner is number 40 Main Street, which again is also 3 units. This property at one point served as the post office in town. In particular, it was that last building I described being the one in the southwest corner. The building to the northeast of that, number 40, 27, was residential. And again, down to the southeast, building number 38, was a retail or commercial building. And you can still see it as you drive by, single story, not in the greatest of health is the building. So that's basically it for the structures on the property. The property under 1050 CMA, a portion of it, 1058 CMR, a portion of it falls under the grandfather provisions of the Riverfront Act. And that would be the existing parking area. That parking area was created prior to August 7th, 1996. And we provided an aerial photo that was taken, I believe, in March or May of 1995, showing that parking area in all those buildings. So we're looking to, we feel that falls under those grandfather provisions. As you can see from the contours on the site is fairly flat. It does have a low spot. So at number 427, Leah, which is the long building facing, that's the one. So southeast of that is a low point in the parking area. When we ran the existing conditions hydrologic analysis, what we found in that area is it had ponded. There's no evidence of any drainage structures on the project. So that whole area, when there's a storm event, ponds in that area. And one of the things that we're looking to do in the design is alleviate a situation, possibly a dangerous situation there in icing conditions. So generally, the site is relatively flat. The majority of the site, other than the buildings, is covered by lawn. There's a tree line along the east side of the property. Residential properties abutted to the north and the east. It is a site that has a lot of character. And when we went to design the project, that was the very first thing that Patrick had said when we had met at his site. He said, I want to do this right. I want to do this in accordance with all the applicable regulations. I want it to look like, when all was said and done, that the improvements I'm making were here forever. So that's basically how we proceeded with the design. In terms of on-site stormwater, there is nothing. There are no systems that we found or the surveyors have found. The site is connected to the municipal sewer in the water. So for instance, number 27 Cross Street is connected on Cross Street. Number 40 Main Street is connected on Cross Street. Number 38 Main Street, being that commercial building, is connected on Main Street. So with that, like I said, very little vegetation on the site. There are some trees along Main Street, as you can see on the plan. The property is Cross Street, as you can see on the plan, and there's a white split rail fence along its frontage on Main Street. The property is accessed through the 100-foot buffer zone and the first 100 feet of the riverfront area from Cross Street. There is if you look to the northeast of number 27, that elongated building, you'll see that there is a buried in-ground pool. That was discovered the hard way. We were out there doing some soil testing with Graves Engineering, and we began our program to the southeast of where Leah has the cursor. So we started there, we caught the edge of this structure, so we decided to move northwestward. And as we did so, we hit this pool, or the cap on the pool, a couple times, and we moved further northwest of that. What we observed for the soils were consistent with the NRCS soils data, which calls for Hinkley soils, hydrologic soil group A. When we opened up the test pit, we found the first several feet being topsoil. So basically topsoil and fill material. And interestingly, as I said to Leah, there were some old bottles found in there. Interesting. One of them, which I think Jeff wound up taking, was an old medicine bottle from the early 1900s or late 1800s. So it was pretty interesting. And below that, we hit a nice loamy sand. And then that went down to about 96 inches where we observed the groundwater at about 8 feet. And then below that was a peat-like material. So it appears that peat-like material may have been, we're not exactly sure where that came from, but obviously with the wetland across the street, maybe something, was created at that time as the glaciers came through. So with that, that's the existing conditions plan from a hydrology perspective, existing conditions. The majority of the site pitches to that area to the southeast of number 27, and along the perimeter that does pitch out to the surrounding properties, including Main Street and Cross Street. So Lee, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the next sheet, thank you. Actually, we can go beyond this one because this one's really boring. So if we could, so this would show the layout materials plan. So what you'll see is a dash line around the perimeter of the site. That represents the limit of work and limit of disturbance. Leah had called us on that, or I think it was either Leah or Samantha. I think it was Samantha who called us out on it. And I followed up with that in my conversation with Leah last week as to why we were showing, and I believe I had the same conversation with Samantha, why we were showing it as both limit of disturbance and limit of work. And the reason we're doing that is it's a fairly compact site. It's, when all is said and done, it may not necessarily be the limit of disturbance. We're showing it that way as a worst case scenario. In the event that the machine is working in the area, he has to do some stockpiling, temporarily placement of materials. You know, we wanted to show it to that full extent. So in doing that, maybe the lawn gets scarred up. So that would be a temporary disturbance situation. So with that said, the site again will continue to be accessed from Cross Street. As you can see, you access it, you come to the in a southeasterly direction, where in the most southeasterly corner of the site, the commercial building will be removed. And what we're proposing there is 3 units, all connected in compliance with the requirements of the VMU district. These will be market rate units, rental units, as are the other 6 units on the site. As a result of those improvements, we had proposed 14 parking spaces. The parking spaces out there currently aren't really defined, but we are proposing 14 parking spaces. We're looking at this site as, again, grandfather provisions under the existing parking area because of its vintage, and then second, redevelopment. The reason we're looking at this as redevelopment is that we have some impervious area on site that when all is said and done, we're going to be decreasing the impervious area on site. In doing so, in the way that we're going to accomplish that is we are providing, again, a 24-foot wide access drive, better defining the access into the site. It's going to go around that building at number 27 and then head northeast to parking spaces out in the back. As you see on the northwesterly side of that area, there are 4 parking spaces. 2 of those will be 9 by 18 Bitcoin parking spaces. And then the other 2 we're looking to have as grass reserve spaces. Those will also be 9 by 18. On the opposite side of the drive, we have compact spaces, which are 8 by 18. Of those 8 by 18, we are proposing 2 spaces to be paved, and then 2 other spaces to be reserved grass spaces. You'll notice that as you enter the property and you're driving onto the property off to the right-hand side, just in front of those, the new building, we're proposing 5 spaces in there. Actually, there are 6 spaces, one of which is going to be a grass reserve space, and that is located at Patrick's wishing well, is what we're calling it, in that location. Patrick, again, in looking to maintain the character of the property, wants to keep that. So in that area, what we've done is we're looking to have that as a reserve parking space. And as you move deeper into the site, you're going to see a honeycomb type hatch in that area. What that represents is the grass Paver 2 system. What we'd like to do is keep that area all lawn and allow for parking in that area. What that allows for is a reduction in impervious area, as well as gives it curb appeal and maintains that character from the street. The structure that Patrick is in, I know this really isn't in the commission's jurisdiction, but I figured I'd share this with you. What Patrick is proposing is a structure, this 3-unit building that again maintains that character and is in concert with what currently exists on the site. As he said, what he'd like to do is have the structure look like it's been there since the other structures. In doing this, again, so this basically shows what we are proposing. What you'll see, Leah, if you could point to building 27 Cross Street, the 3-unit existing building. Thank you, and on the southwesterly side of that building, it's currently paved right up to the building. Actually, that southern side of the building is all paved, as is the easterly side. What we're proposing in there is some landscaping. What that allows us to do within the 100 and 200 foot riverfront area, as well as within a portion of the buffer zone on the property, is take that impervious area and convert it to pervious area. With that, like I said, we're looking to decrease the impervious area on site. We're going to have a walkway around out to Cross Street or Main Street from the main building. And we're going to have at number 27 Cross Street, we're going to have poured concrete walkway or a bid conc walk up to the access of the building. Leah, if you wouldn't mind going to the next sheet, which would be the erosion sediment control plan. So one of the very first things we're going to do out here. So Patrick is working with a couple contractors to get some preliminary bids. I did let Patrick know that it's kind of early in the game, but he just kind of wants to have an idea as to what he's looking at for costs and make sure that a contractor is lined up to move forward following his receipt of all his permits. So basically what he's going to be doing is around the perimeter of the property in Cross Street and in Main Street, there are some existing catch basins. He is proposing to install the silt sacks or inlet sediment traps, whatever you want to call it. And then he's looking to install an anti-tracking pad, remove the impervious area, the pavement on site, and install an anti-tracking pad out at the project entrance, and then continue to install the erosion sediment control measures around the site. He will be looking to remove the buildings and begin to move forward with the next phase, which would be the construction, the excavation of the foundation of the proposed building, which will then be followed by prepping the area for parking areas, bringing in the gravel, excavating, performing that work, and then removing the existing pool to the north of the building at number 27. He will also be moving forward with prepping the area for the installation of an infiltration detention basin. You're going to see to the northeast of the building at number 27 a stockpile area. That will be surrounded with a silt surround. To the east of that is going to be an area for staging. Vehicles for contractors, materials, they will be parked there. I think looking at the site, I think everyone would agree. There are some tight quarters here, especially when you consider that you're going to have an excavator doing his work and excavating for the foundation. There's not much room here. So with that said, what we're proposing is that area that I mentioned earlier in the layout materials plan that is proposed to be the honeycomb grass pavers, the grass pave 2 system. That area in there will be used for the parking for the residents of the existing 2 buildings. Like I said, the site will be surrounded in a straw wattle and silt fence barrier, and then the silt loam pile or the stockpile area will be surrounded by silt fence. Okay, Leah, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the next screen. Now, this is the fun one. This is where you really get the meat and potatoes of the project. This one, again, shows all the improvements being proposed, but it also shows our drainage system, which is very important to the commission, as you know. As I said earlier, we had a situation with existing conditions. We ran the model, and based on the topography that we found, there was a ponding area to the southeast of number 27. So clearly we couldn't have that. So what we've done is we're proposing a double grate hooded catch basin, deep sump hooded catch basin there, so that it discharges from there to a manhole that is located, as you can see, northwest of that area, to the to that manhole, which was going to discharge to the infiltration basin with an overflow from there to a catch basin. We had run the pre and post development analysis, and what we found was that for all the storm events, the system was sized in accordance with your regulations, incorporating the Cornell method. We, in terms of groundwater mounting, we had proposed, initially what we wanted to do is, in one of the discussions that we had with Leah, she had asked if we would consider something like a rain garden in that area. So I said, okay, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. And that was before we really had all the information in on any of the soils, groundwater, how we were looking to address the drainage out there. So we thought about it, and once we started to collect the information, we found that the catch basin, if you could, Leah, zoom into that catch basin that we're proposing in the center of the parking lot. So that catch basin, it's kind of, I can't see that rim elevation's a 288. The invert of that is a 285.5. And so it's a 15-inch pipe. So that puppy is fairly close to the surface, as high as we can get it. And that has got no slope, no pitch on the pipe. It's just going to surcharge and then flow into that structure prior to the infiltration system. That system, like I said, will then overflow into the down gradient catch basins. What we have done is we've modeled the site so that there is no increase in the peak rates of runoff for the storm events. We did run a groundwater mounting analysis, looking at that, obviously having this in this location and having infiltration, detention, we need to maintain the 4-foot groundwater offset. In lieu of that, as you folks know, we could do a groundwater mounting analysis, which sometimes helps you, sometimes hurts you. In this particular case, it did help us as we had groundwater at 8 feet. So what came from that analysis is we found that at about 2 3/4 feet, the groundwater mounting analysis indicated that the groundwater in that area would be mounted about 2 3/4 or allowed us a 2 3/4 foot separation from the groundwater to the bottom of the system. So we had added that to the bottom of the system. By the time we did that, the system was up fairly high. So I think the bottom of stone of that system is somewhere around the 285.5, or the bottom of the chambers is around 285.5. So it's up pretty high. So with that, like I said, it overflows into the system and into that catch basin. Typically, as we know, we don't like to discharge into catch basins. This particular structure, the existing structure out in Cross Street, is quite a bit ahead from the throat inlet of the structure. I believe it's a drop inlet to the outlet, some 8 feet, I believe, or something close to that. And the flows coming out of the system were showing very little coming out of that basin, so that we don't believe there's going to be a scouring issue inside that structure as it overtops. During the 100-year event, what's going to happen here is that the system is going to get surcharged. The catch basin will get surcharged. It will temporarily pond, and then it will draw down. Like I said, we have some good soils in this area, so that it will draw down in the required 27 hours or 72 hours. Dyslexia is setting in here. 72 hours as required under the stormwater regulations. That is the proposed grading and drainage plan. If I could, Leah, if you could pan out for a second, and I can show you what we're doing for grading. So with that, as I said earlier, it ponded behind that building number 27. We are proposing to create that low spot at elevation 288. It's roughly around a 289 currently, or just shy of that. And so what we're doing is we're cutting that down to get the water to flow to that area. And like I said, what we found in all the storm events is that we have no increase in the peak rates of runoff. In terms of the impacts within the riverfront area and the 100-foot buffer zone, I'd like to direct your attention to the upper right-hand corner of that sheet where I've tabulated the buffer zone and riverfront impact summary. Now, one of the questions that both Leah and Samantha had was they were looking for some information. We had mistakenly not included the breakdown of the riverfront area with redevelopment and grandfather provisions on your wetland permit application. We had since done that. We had also failed to provide you for the elevation of the groundwater. So it looks like this plan here had supplemented the initial issue plan, showing that at that infiltration system, the estimated seasonal high groundwater at elevation 282. So this summary table, what you're going to see here, what we said is, okay, we want to provide this showing the impervious area and the pervious area, existing conditions, and then proposed conditions. We've said that we're reducing it. This table illustrates how we're doing that. So if you look in the upper section, the 100-foot buffer zone, which is located along Cross Street, existing conditions, we have 4,360 square feet of impervious. Proposed conditions, we're reducing that to 4,260. The way that's being done within that buffer zone is, if you recall, when I was sharing the layout materials plan with you, along that southerly side of the building at number 27, where we're introducing the landscaping, that's where that's occurring. So therefore, it's an increase of pervious area within that area. So that area within that buffer zone is on site is about what that is being impacted is about 7,830 square feet. Within the 200-foot area being redeveloped, we indicated here that there's 6,400 square feet, which is grandfathered. That's that parking area. And the portion being redeveloped is about 11,925 square feet for a total of 18,330 square feet. Now, as you folks know, when doing a project that's redevelopment, grandfather provisions, such as this site, the performance standards of 1058 for C and D, being that you have 5,000 square feet or 10%, we don't need to adhere to that. So what we've done is, again, we're looking at making improvements, reducing the impervious area. We've got groundwater recharge. By reducing the impervious area, we're automatically having some groundwater recharge that we're not getting, or we're getting more with the reduction than existing conditions. In addition to that, with capturing that stormwater and routing it through the infiltration, we're getting, additional groundwater recharge as well. So looking at the redevelopment of the site, we see it as a benefit to the property, keeping in mind that it is a redevelopment project. There is Cross Street, which is a paved area, traveled way between the riverfront area, or within the river, between the river and the BVW and the site. So going back to the document, like I said, we have also broken it down to the redeveloped portions from 0 to 100 is about 4,060 square feet. Between 100 to 200, that's where you're going to see most of it, which is the 14,270. Again, for total changes in that area of 18,330 square feet. Again, a reduction in impervious area. So with the, so what I had done is I looked at, as I did with the buffer zone, I looked at the riverfront area and what is being reduced. So looking at the impervious area between the 0 to 100, existing conditions is 3,610 square feet. We're reducing that to 3,450. Between 100 and 200, we had 8,420 square feet of impervious, and we're reducing that to about 8,000 square feet. I did talk to Leah about, once the commission has some dialogue on this, that if the commission wanted us to do a little bit more to reduce impervious, she suggested some things which we would be totally on board with. So with that, Madam Chair, I want to thank you and the commission for listening. Again, this is Patrick's first rodeo with this type of process. So I'm sure he's enjoying it. So I'd like to turn it over to you, Madam Chair, and you can do your thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
what we'll do is we'll go through the commissioners, see if they have any questions. Before we do that, Leah, why don't you just give us your report on what your review and the status of the peer review?
So we have a peer review outstanding in coordination with planning that we don't have back yet. We did get the DEP number came in this afternoon without any comments. And then I just wanted to clarify something, or have Wayne clarify something for the commission, and that is when you talked about those reserve parking spaces, if they were to be needed in the future, were they to be grass pavers or potentially pavement, and then subsequently were they included in calculations?
Good question. Good question. They were included in the calculations. We currently do not have grass pavers within them. It's probably not a bad idea to do that now. We could do that now, but it would be, those reserve areas are lawn, and we would look to preserve them as lawn and not paved surface areas.
So just to kind of add on to that question that Leah had is, what's the trigger to convert those reserve spaces into active spaces? Is that something the planning board is requiring?
That's also a good question. So what we're going to do is we're going to present it to the planning board. If they say they want them as active spaces, then right out of the gate, they will become impervious spaces. Our thought is that what we have found, Madam Chair, and I think you probably have seen it in your day job, that parking requirements tend to be a little heavy from community to community. Although I must say, and I said this to the planning board, that I think with what they have done within this VMU district is absolutely wonderful. I think the way they have structured it with certain types of units requiring X amount of spaces. For instance, the RMF district, they have 2.25, I believe it's 2.25 spaces per unit. I feel that that's excessive. Looking at projects that we've worked on, I think it's excessive. I think with what they've done in this VMU district, I think they've hit the nail on the head. Having parking requirements that are based on the number of bedrooms per unit. So to answer your question, we will have that dialogue with the planning board. When all is said and done, we understand that we are in the very sensitive riverfront area, a resource area, and we're going to be sensitive to what we're going to do there. We're not paving that. We will, worst case, have them as grass paver parking spaces.
Right, great. Leah, anything else?
I had a couple things I wanted to call out. They can be made into special conditions when we get to that time, or there are things that we can ask for to be added to plans now. One was an operation and maintenance plan for the grass paver system that would address things like how to plow it, treat it for ice, and also staking the limits of the grass pavers so that people know not to drive any further. In those stakes, it would be my suggestion that those stakes include some signage about sand salt usage. In talking with Wayne about that one in particular, he suggested an additional sign on building 27 so that when the plow comes in, he would know those certain restrictions as well.
Yeah, I mean, I also have a question on that, which is simply, it appears that you have no curbs within the parking area and
Mhm.
driveway. I don't have any issues with that. It's just a more of a visual, something visually that you can see the edge of the pavement, especially in snow, just because, the grass paves does have a structure to it. But if someone drives off the grass pave and mucks up the lawn, then you create issues there. And again, I will leave it to the discretion of the applicant, what kind of visual, and again, I'm not suggesting putting in like a guardrail or anything heavy duty. It's more visual, so that a car, when it pulls into a parking space, knows it can't go any further. So,
Yep. I think that's great. And I think, so what I was going to suggest to Patrick, so Patrick, you're about to hear it for the first time. Thank you, Madam Chair. So what I was thinking was that, again, curb appeal to Patrick is everything here. And in maintaining that character, I was thinking that maybe that we could have something flush with the ground. So I had, in speaking with Leah, I had a situation in the town of Northborough with the fire chief that was in town, who was, I got along well with him. I got along very well with him. He's retired. Not, I can't say that about other people, but I got along very well with him. What his concern was the same thing here, was the limits of the pavement or the grass paved 2 type system, and how does he negotiate around that in terms of winter conditions? Because he said they wouldn't know where things are plowed. I would suggest that as part of the O&M plan in the snow. So basically, it'll be like a snow management O&M plan, that these areas, as Leah says, be staked. So he could have something as simple as like an thin iron post, maybe 1/2 inch in diameter or something similar to that he can tap into the ground, that has a little placard on it stating that, no salts or whatever to be used here. As I said to Leah, I have a house, my house, I redid my front drive. And one of the things that I had done is I didn't like the look of the pavement to begin with, but being one of these drainage geeks, I wanted to see how crushed stone actually worked in my driveway. So I put in a crushed stone driveway, and I was told I was crazy for snow plowing. So I don't have it plowed, but what I do is I run my snow blower over it. I think if it were my property, what I would probably do is define those limits at the beginning of the season, put the little placards in the posts along the edge of the driveway to define it. If he doesn't, he's not only going to be destroying the grass pavers, but his lawn. So I would go ahead and do something like that, so that, and in addition, after the plow comes through and does his thing, I would approach it the same way you approach any parking spaces. You fire up the snow blower, you get, for lack of a better term, the snow pilings. I call it, I've known the term as being like schlement, the embankments. Just run the snow blower through it. Just run the snow blower through it, clean up the parking spaces is typically how I would do it, and how I do it at home. With the gravel system or the crushed stone system, very few come through the chute when they do, I get yelled at, but very few come through the chute. And I think with Patrick's system, that's probably the way I would do it, Patrick, is, work your snow blower, something similar to that. The other thing that I've seen done is that they come through, they lift the blade when they go through that area, raise the blade a couple inches so it gets crunchy underfoot, but at the same time, you can still go through. It's going to be fairly flat in there as well.
Okay, yeah, and we'll kind of, discuss those type of
Mhm.
O&M stuff.
Yep.
Anything else, Leah?
The other thing I wanted to call to the commission's attention was just to consider asking for all the parking to be grass pavers if you felt you wanted more of a reduction in impervious surface.
Okay. So I'll poll the commissioners. Helen, do you have any questions?
Oh, this is a lot to absorb. I don't have any questions.
Okay, no problem. John, any questions?
No, I was gonna kind of ask about the O&M that was discussed, and that some of those special conditions might make sense if we get to that point. But he hit on everything. Wayne hit on everything that I was looking for.
Okay, and I have a few questions. Now I know this is going up for peer review, so some of these may be addressed when the peer review happens, but I have some just general questions. And this is more just dealing with phasing and what happens in erosion control. Are the existing units occupied, and are they going to be occupied during construction?
Yes.
Okay.
Makes it
That's it.
challenging.
Yeah, that's pretty much, that's why I'm bringing it up. I mean, to be honest, that's your decision. I have no opinion on whether there are tenants there or not. It just makes doing erosion control a little bit more difficult and makes doing the construction process a little difficult. But it's just something that can be planned for. And I would probably make a suggestion for a condition that a phasing plan. It doesn't have to be too detailed, but just to understand how that's going to get done. Because when you look at the plan, you think that all the pavement's going to get taken up and put down.
Sure.
It's not going to be as easy as that.
Right.
You brought up the whole issue of the discharge going into the back of the catch basin on Cross Street. I'm going to defer to DPW if they're going to allow that.
Okay.
But for the reasons that you described as far as resuspension and those type of things, also let the peer reviewer have a comment on that. One question I do have, you've got the double catch basin and then it goes into a manhole into infiltration. Where's your water quality for that collection?
So yep, good question. So we are getting the 25% out of the catch basin and the 80% in the infiltration system. Go
Yep.
ahead.
No, go ahead. Please finish your description.
So once you run that and go through the treatment train, I think in the end, the net result is somewhere around 85% TSS removal.
So this is my concern, and this
Yep.
is a lot, and this is actually on the local bylaw. We like to see additional pretreatment before infiltration.
Yep.
I mean, you have good soils there. You want the water to get into the ground. So the issue with not having or having the infiltration system as your water quality treatment is you're introducing sediment into it and potentially can reduce the infiltration. If you put a water quality device ahead of that, then you can prevent the sediment from getting into your infiltration system. Because remember, it's below grade, you can't see it.
Sure.
What you're doing is trying to provide for a longer life.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I was thinking
Oh.
of is that if you did put in, whether that's an inlet system for water quality or a separate, manhole type of water quality is the thing. But if you actually put your pipe from your inlet into the first manhole, if you just did a perforated pipe and crushed stone and just add some very passive infiltration. I'm just trying to do redundant systems so
Sure.
you get more into it. And along that same line, of thought is that you have, a new building going in here with new roof drains. Are those roof drains, are they piped or are they falling to the ground and you're letting them absorb?
So I believe, Patrick, you're looking at a pipe system like a roof, a gutter system coming down into a pipe system and then discharging into that catch basin.
So I would suggest if you're going to do that is to probably throw, and again, this all has to be pretty, not looking for big systems, not
Sure.
looking for the 100-year storm or even the 10-year storm,
Mhm.
but just to look for maybe the first half inch of trying to get it into the ground. And again, it's decentralizing infiltration and that just works better. So it's, take the majority of the roof, and if you're going into the ground, is maybe it's as easy as taking a 10-foot length of pipe and making it perforated, putting it in crushed stone and have a very passive system. And now you're spreading it out. And, even though the existing buildings have downspouts, I'm really concentrating on the new building because that's all new construction.
Sure. So I think, Madam Chair, I'll take a look again at the stormwater. I'd like to say that when Mike ran it, he included the rooftop. So he was probably looking at that as overland and probably has that capacity, I believe, within the infiltration system.
Yeah, again, and one of the reasons why I'm saying to do this is to decentralize, because
Gotcha.
because whenever you concentrate, you get the groundwater mounding, you get a concentration of sediment, and because roof runoff is generally clean compared to what comes off a pavement, you don't have to do any pre-treatment. You can go right into the ground and try to recharge. So, again, I'm not looking for big systems. I'm looking for the ability to capture that first half inch just so you get more infiltration. It'll help your systems.
Sure.
It's pretty simple stuff.
So basically just spreading it out.
You got it.
So with that, I want to thank you again for the last project I had done, which was the ever so popular Brigati Village. And you introduced me to gravel wetlands.
Yep.
And holy cow, they're wonderful. I wish that we had room to do something like that here. If the property was bigger, certainly that would be something. But I've done it elsewhere, and I've had actually people from some competing firms, former co-workers, call me, and they I don't know how they found out, but they knew I did one. They asked where I learned it, and I told them. And so it's a great design. It's a great design. And I remember when I first, and I don't mean to digress, but when I first looked at it, it's like, Jesus, what does this entail? But when you look at it, fairly simple design and pretty effective.
It's very
It was really
simple.
cool. It was really
Yeah.
cool.
So to Leah's point, when she was asking about putting bioretention and so forth,
Mhm.
and I would typically be asking that same thing,
Yeah.
but I also get the elevations that you're dealing with and where the low spot is. So I guess my kind of approach is I'd much rather see green infrastructure, nature-based structures, but I get the size constraint on here. So as much as we can disperse and maybe grab some roof and get it into the system and even into the ground, and and I'm not even worried of you taking credit for it or anything else. Whatever you do there just helps the overall drainage
Sure.
system.
Sure.
So,
Makes perfect sense. Thank you very much.
okay, so that's that. Um, yeah, I agree with the O&M for a grass pave. I mean, the system's been around for a very long time. Like me, I've been doing this stuff for a very long time. It's been around since I was first out of college. So it's proven there is some maintenance to it. So I think Leah's suggestion of having an O&M that also will educate you to know how to take care of it. And if you're asking a question, you're on mute, Patrick.
Not now.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just that there is some O&M and some maintenance considerations. I don't think it's overly burdensome. It's just that you want to make sure it keeps working. That's all.
Not at all. And if I could just say, as I've been listening and learning, I think I have a few ideas in what you would like in terms of a distinction of where those pavers end, so people are not driving off of them. And I do the maintenance. It's basically, this is my job. This building is going to be my job 5 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever it is. So I'm the one that's going to be personally in control of the snow management.
Yep.
So I will be on top of that. And if I could let you guys into I think Wayne knows this. I grew up where my mother was extremely particular about the grass. So you park where you park, where you're supposed to, and you do not drive on the grass. And the residents there already know that. And I also have a plan for when this construction starts as to their parking situation.
Okay.
So I've already, worked it out with a couple of people, but I want to obviously get a little further in the process. So I hear you loud and clear, and I do not feel that there's anything unreasonable in those requests at all.
Yeah, and from a wetlands protection and from our kind of what we're doing, you're taking an existing developed site and you're redeveloping. That's where we want to see development go, because you're
Right.
taking an area and then as the regulations require, you need to have some improvements. I mean, it's not like you're going to do these huge improvements, but there are improvements here that meet the requirements. So and you're putting in a functioning stormwater system where there isn't one now.
Yeah.
So those are things that, this is a type of project I think fits into what DEP and what, as a commissioner that we're looking to do is the redevelopment stuff. So, well, I don't have any other questions on that. I mean, the whole site is in the riverfront. We get it. It's developed. You're trying to do some improvements. We'll wait to see what the peer reviewer says, because they'll go through all the calcs and stuff, and we'll kind of respond to what they have for comments. And I think Leah got a lot of the questions I had, then just some other ones I mentioned. So I'll go through the commission one more time just to make sure they don't have any follow-up. Helen, any follow-up questions? John, any follow-up?
No, nothing.
Okay. And then, this is a time, although there's no one else on this call, but I'll put it out there. If there was anyone else there, I would advise. There is? Okay.
Yeah, and we have
Okay.
a question in the chat.
Oh, good. All right. So this is the time to ask these questions. So just as the person did in the chat, just to address it to everyone, we'll read through them and actually respond to them. So this is your opportunity. So I encourage you, if you do have any questions, whether it's a general question or not, to go ahead and ask. And so the first question from Don Wilson. And Don, if you could actually put in your address just for the record, that would be appreciated. And you said is your question, there's an underground brook that runs to the north edge of this property, which drains into the Blackstone River. How will that affect the properties to the east and north of the property? Thank you, Don, for putting in your address. That's just for the record. So I'll just go back to Wayne. Are you aware of the underground stream that's there?
So I understand there is a pipe system, but the work that was performed, like I said, was delineated from Northeast Ecological Services, Scott Heim, and located on the ground by Joe Marquardt. So if there is something underground, it is a pipe system, and we're not working anywhere where it would disturb that pipe system. In terms of anything on the property, we're not aware of anything on the property. And in fact, the earthwork that we had done, or the test pit that we had done, would probably have revealed something. We were tucked up tight in that corner with Jeff Walsh.
Right. And just for clarification, to help to clarify is that the area on the site is being collected by a low spot through a catch basin. It's being directed into an infiltration system and then discharged to a drainage system out in Cross Street. So there is no connection to any other pipes on the site. So I would just let Don know if you have any more questions or more specific questions that you can certainly ask him. The other part of it is that these set of plans and the calculations go to a peer reviewer. That is a third party engineer that the Conservation Commission hires. The applicant pays for it. It is that independent engineer who looks at all of the information. They will prepare a report and submit it to us. So I would also suggest that, that we're most likely going to continue this hearing to the next meeting, and that we'll get that review by that peer review engineer. And you can certainly reach out to Leah and ask about it. And Leah, that will be posted on the website. So it's all available to the public to actually look at the peer reviewer of the stormwater system. So hopefully that'll give you some more information. But if you do have any other questions, feel free to type them in the chat now, or once we get a little bit further, we'll probably continue this, and you can always reach out to the office if you have other questions. And all of the drawings and all the calculations will be on the website, so you can access them. So hopefully that answers your questions. So I would also put it out there if there's anyone on the chat that has other questions, please feel free to type into it. We're going to kind of do some other business, but we'll keep an eye on that. Anything else, Leah, that we should follow up on? I'll go to the applicant. You know that we're going to go out for peer review. Would you like to continue it to either the next meeting or whichever meeting you want to continue it to, where we can kind of wrap up the peer review, and if there's any other questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, we'd like to continue to the next available agenda. If I could first, Leah, Patrick, Samantha, has the peer review check been submitted to the town for $2,300, I believe was the amount?
Yes, it was sent in by us today. You
Requested
you
it.
told me about it when they were doing the peer review. So the
Okay.
check has been mailed to the town.
Okay.
I'm
And
not
Madam-
sure if they've received it yet, so.
Okay, Madam Chair, I know Graves Engineering has a full application packet, including the site plans and stormwater report.
Yep.
So they're ready to rock and roll.
Okay. So Leah?
Actually, you know what? I think that went to planning because we're doing it in conjunction with them. So I will check with Natalia
Right.
and make sure she
Right.
has it and deposited it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And just to let you know, is we tend to, both the planning board and the conservation commission tend to combine our reviews, because obviously there's no need to have two different engineers reviewing it, and Graves does both peer reviews for planning board and for conservation. Just makes sense. You don't, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So any other questions from the commissioners? Well, Leah, if not, I'll again go back to the applicant if you want to continue this to a meeting, and let us know which meeting you'd like to continue it to.
Wayne, I'll have to defer to you. I don't know where I go from here.
Yep, I've got it. Thank you, Patrick. Madam Chair, would like to continue to your next available agenda.
February 2nd.
So that's February 2nd. And just for the other people that are attending this as from the public. So basically what we'll do is we'll continue this hearing to a date certain, which is February 2nd. You can just check the website and look at the agenda to make sure it's there. If you have a question, you can always call Leah and ask about the schedule. And the hope of that is that we'll get the peer review, and then we can discuss that at the next meeting. So if you have any questions, you can attend again, or you can, take a look at the website to see what information that we've gotten. So based on that, and as I kind of babble on, if anyone else has any other questions in the chat feature, please go ahead and add it. We're now going to go through the process of continuing the hearing. So do I have a motion to continue the hearing?
I make a motion to continue the notice of intent for a peer review for the project at 40 Main Street, South Grafton, to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission being February 2nd, 2021.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second that.
A motion and a second. We'll go through a roll call. Helen, your vote.
Yes.
John,
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. So we're continued to the February 2nd hearing. And again, Wayne, you can reach out to Leah or Samantha just to check on the peer review. You know how it goes. So once we get that, we'll follow up on that. That's pretty much it. So thank you. Good luck with your project. And obviously we'll follow up at the next meeting and you can let us know what other little changes to the plans that you're looking to do. That's it.
Sounds great. Well, Madam Chair, like I said, I mean, you guys, you have a great commission. You do a heck of a job as chair. And it's a pleasure seeing you guys. I wish it was in person, but I do appreciate coming before this commission. I think it's a great, in the town. I think you guys are fortunate. You've got some good boards and commissions in town. So thanks again. Much appreciated.
Yep.
We look forward to seeing you folks on the 2nd.
Sounds good. Yeah, and
Thank
someday
you.
we will be back in person.
Oh,
Truly,
hopefully sooner than-
I believe that. I truly
Yeah.
believe that.
It's nicer. I'm a people person, and this is different. This is certainly different. Half the time, like John had experienced tonight. I mean, half the time it's a nightmare getting on. Yeah,
But
and like I said, Madam Chair, you have no idea what's going to hit you.
Right. But I also think in the future we'll have a hybrid situation because the one thing that, having it virtual
Yeah.
allows many more people to call in and to
Yep.
not just watch it on a cable, but actually participate.
Right.
So I think, in the future, there'll be some sort of hybrid. I do understand the benefits of in-person, but I think we've also discovered an avenue to actually increase our public participation,
Oh,
which is what we're trying to do here is give people an opportunity to comment on things. So
Well, I think the other thing it does too, especially from a conservation perspective, many folks out there in the public, if they don't do this for work, they have no idea what this is. They don't understand the roles of these boards. So when they have this opportunity to log in remotely, I think it's, there's a positive to this. As nasty as this thing is, I think there's a positive to that. It educates.
oh, absolutely. We find out different things. So
Sure.
thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Have a good
All right.
night. Stay safe and healthy.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. So Leah, anything else that we need? Did we take care of all of action items?
We took care of the action items. I need you to open the continued hearing for our stormwater bylaw revisions. I
Gotcha.
don't have anything new on it this week.
Okay.
So unless anyone wants to follow up last week with any questions or comments, we can just continue that to February 2nd. I don't have anything new.
Okay, that sounds good. Sorry, I'm just trying to find your report. Is that on the lead?
Yeah, I just added it in there. I forgot to put the legal ad in before.
Okay, so where is that?
It's in the lead sheet in the continued section.
Okay,
Should be right above action items.
all right. Just this Grafton Stormwater Management Regulation, just,
Oh, I just saved it. So it should have gone through.
okay, yeah, it's not coming up on mine as, let me try to get
No,
out.
it's there now. Yeah, if you back out and go back in, it should be there.
All right, now it's got the little spinny wheel, so it's really doing something now. Ah, here we go. Thank you. So pursuant to the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to discuss revisions to the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw and regulation. The revisions are available for public inspection by contacting the Conservation Commission office via email at concom@grafton-mash.gov or by calling 508-839-5335, extension 1138. You can also get a link and access information to the meeting as it is posted on the Grafton, Town of Grafton's website. So that's opening it. And so just to Helen and to John, is there any thoughts about discussing anything more from Leah's discussion? She hasn't added or changed anything. So do we want to just continue it?
I feel it's okay to continue.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. Is there anything else, Leah, you want to say? Do you want to just, okay.
Nope.
Sounds good. Do I have a motion to continue the public hearing for the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw and Regulation revisions to February 2nd?
What was that verbiage?
Want me to do it, Ellen?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to. I'm trying to
You can
recall what
you
you
can
said.
say so moved. So
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
moved.
there you go. So we have a motion by John. Do I have a second?
I second that.
It's just a shortcut. I can just tee people up and it's just a shortcut to doing that. So I'll take roll call for the vote on that motion. Helen,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
I am also a yes, the motion carries. So we're continuing the hearing for the stormwater bylaw and regulations to February 2nd. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Pretty quiet. How's everything? Did you guys, so you did get the signature pages and everything all set?
Yes.
Okay. I even had a nice little plastic, thing I slid it in. I put Conservation Commission on it. So
Yeah, for whatever reason, sometimes things have a hard time getting from the bin to us, but
Okay.
it got sorted out.
okay, no problem. I just, that was fine. And just as far as that process of signing things, that work out for everyone? I mean, Patrick doesn't live that far from me. So I printed it and signed it and dropped it off at Patrick's, and then he brought it in. And then I know Alicia and John got together and did theirs. So, and Helen did her own. I mean, is that okay to do? Did that work out okay?
Yeah, worked out fine. My wife printed them in her office and brought them home. So worked out good.
Okay, cool. So we have a path moving forward, Leah, to do stuff. So any last words or anything else? Seeing a lot of shaking heads. So do I have the last motion?
I make the motion to say goodnight and end the meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion to close the hearing. Do I have a second?
Second that. Yes, I
And
second that.
thank you. Helen, your vote?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
I am also a yes. So the hearing is closed. So thank you.